Hi folks, good morning. This is Jim Hodson with the Fort Worth Aviation Museum, home of the most touchable warbirds in Texas. And we're here this morning. We're going to do a walk around to the ramp. If I can get the camera to turn around for us here. There we go. Okay. I hope you can hear me. Let me know if you get a thumbs up and you can hear me okay. This is our Blue Angel FA-18, and a couple of years ago we asked people to help support doing the refurbing on this, and so we have started that process. Looks pretty ugly. Dick, if you can hear me, give me a thumbs up, please. You'll notice it looks very blotchy. What the intent here is, when the Blue Angels paint these airplanes, they put a clear coat over the top of numerous coats of paint. I may be able to see it up here a little bit. I'll find another place around here where you can see the clear coat and how it's delaminating from the airplane. The blue and the yellow are actually in pretty good shape. But as you may notice here, we've got some blotchy areas, and that's the clear coat that's coming off. The sun has done a real job on deteriorating the clear coat on the airplane. So we are having to go around, and we're not taking the airplane down to bare metal. The intent is to simply take all of the clear coat off of the airplane, and then we will be repainting it in its blue and yellow. Part of that process, we're finding out some of it is coming off with high pressure washers. Some of it is requiring sanding, and it's just not coming off as easy as we'd hoped that it would. Another part of this process is you will see that we have markings all over the airplane, like this one, right side, up on the canopy rail. I can step up here so you can see it a little bit better. We have things like right side, 3 inches down, 3 3/4 inches, and then stuff on the lettering. This is all part of knowing where we're going to be putting the markings back on the airplane when we are done with the primary paint and everything else. So it's all part of the process of getting ready to do this. We get a lot of information from the Blue Angels if we need it, but it doesn't give us everything we need. So when we're going to go back and start to put the markings back on the airplane, we first have to kind of do a mapping of the airplane and where all of the markings are on it as it sits when it comes to us. You'll see more here. So it takes a lot to do this mapping process, and then photography work on the airplane so we know where everything is going to go back. As you can see, the paint on some of this is in very good shape, but here again, the clear coat and the sun here, the heat on the sun really kind of beats this thing up. So this is the blue, and this is where we are in this process right now. It's going to be a while before we actually get to paint. It also doesn't help that we've had some very high temperatures here this summer. But it will come out. We hope that by the time we're finished with it, that it's going to come out looking a lot like our TA4J Skyhawk does. We didn't use a clear coat on that airplane at all, and the paint is holding up very well. It's a gloss paint, and we got very good coverage even though we did it out here. It's not like the YF-16 that was done indoors, but we hope that the Blue Jet here will end up looking a lot like that when we're finished with it. Let me see here. Okay. Now, one of the other things we're working on is what we have been calling for a number of years a BT-13, when in fact it turns out it's not. It was actually an SNV-1, a Navy version. So we've had problems for years with that airplane since it had fabric coverings. They kept on deteriorating and making the airplane look bad. Is we've got some of these people in the background who are actually, maybe Rich will show you with his hand here a little bit. We're replacing all of the fabric portion of the control surfaces with sheet metal. So this will stand up to the abuse of the winds and the weather and everything else here. This is part of the elevator, obviously. And I'll take a walk out to the airplane so you can see that, but this is what's happening here. We've also found, we've located the history on our airplane, which was kind of hidden for many years. And the airplane was built in 1943 for the Army Air Corps, and then it went to the Navy in Corpus Christi, and later went to an area down there called Cudahy Field. It was used as a nav trainer with the Naval Aviation Intermediate Training Squadrons, and we found some color pictures of what the airplane looked like at the time. We're going to make an intermediate stop here with our Mohawk. We've got one engine on it, and we've located a second engine. So we've got a crew that's going to be going up to Washington State to pick up that engine in about another week or so. So we will be able to have two engines on that airplane. We're going to go ahead and just walk across the yard here over to the SNV. You know, people are probably going to call it a BT-13 for a long time. So, at any rate, summer's been tough on us here. Not as bad as some of the previous summers, but the heat really beats up the airplanes. We're going to have some surprises as we move forward over the next few months with some of the airplanes that are going to be coming in. We have as many as 5 more aircraft coming, and don't want to necessarily spoil that, because like an air show, until it's on the ramp, it's not here. So this is our SNV-1. One of the things we found is that the airplanes, when they went from the Army Air Corps to the Navy, they put new... It's going to be really hard to read this, but that's the identification plate. They put a new serial number on the airplanes, and to make them a naval aircraft. You can see we've got the ailerons off of the airplane, and we have the rudder and the elevator off of the airplane. This airplane was never, that we could tell, in this blue and yellow scheme. People over the years, by private owners. It at this point belongs to the city of Fort Worth, and we're its caretakers. So I can tell you what it's going to look like. I don't have the picture to show you, but I can tell you what it's going to look like. This airplane is going to go back into the colors again that it served in 1943 and 1944 when it was in Corpus Christi and Cudahy Field. It was in an aluminum painted color basic on the fuselage with a red stripe around the tail, a red rudder, and yellow and a red stripe on the wings. And so you maybe can find some airplanes like that online so you can see what the paint scheme is going to look like. But we think it's going to make a really nice addition and a new color scheme here for the museum. So I'm going to head back over to the ramp. We had an F-14 group here not too long ago, and they cleaned up our Tomcat. Next to that, we've got the YF, or the F-111, and if it looks brighter and shinier than you've seen it in the past, it's because it was. We had a Boy Scout group come out here, and the Eagle project was to oil the airplane. We found that the number of different oils that we can put on the airplane, it brightens up the finish, it protects the finish, and it will allow us to display the airplane in a good condition without having to consider repainting it, because that's a process and it's very costly to do that, especially on one this big. So the airplane looks great, and we're really happy to be able to help one of the scouts with his Eagle project in addition to everything else. So it helps us, helps them. We've got more airplanes here. If anybody out there knows of a group that would like to do a service project. And so that's kind of where we're at for today. So Going to go over here and point out our namesake airplanes, the two OV-10s. Next year, 2025, will be our biannual Bronco reunion. And so for right now, from the Fort Worth Aviation Museum, the home of the most touchable warbirds in Texas, we'd like to thank you for being with us today and hope you have a good weekend. Thank you.
Vayan con cuidado.